The school year gets underway in this new COVID world, as you heard Erica talking about. It's important to recognize the role that the educators play in students' lives.
How many of you feel that you don't fit the norm, you're out of the box? Raise your hand. Yeah, all right, that's all of us. That's amazing.
The support system and the sense of community from attending a public school was the encouragement that I needed to kind of go on. So, living proof.
A good teacher is hard to forget. A new documentary out today makes sure that we remember one in particular teacher from the South Bronx. His name was Pedro Santana. The award-winning film is called My Name is Pedro, and we are joined this morning by the director, Lillian LaSalle. Good morning to you, Lillian.
Good morning.
I watched this documentary last night, finished it this morning, and I have to say it was just incredible. It brought me to tears because that's the power of an educator and how they can really affect your lives. And Pedro did that with so many folks in his communities. So how did you come across his story?
I actually discovered Pedro because he was featured on the cover of the Metropolitan section of the New York Times. And I read his article about how he had changed this failing middle school around in the South Bronx. And the thing that got me about the article was actually, not just the information within it and how incredible the story was, but the picture that was featured in the article, which was that Pedro was standing there with his long flowing hair, dancing with his students. And I thought, wow, that doesn't look like the principles I remember from my childhood. And I became kind of enamored by the story. And I called him the next day. It was summer session. He was in his office. And I asked to interview with him, and he said, "How's tomorrow?" And that was the kind of person he was. It's just a person of immediacy, a person of always saying yes to opportunities. And this was the message that he shared with his students so effectively, and one of the great gifts that he gave to me.
And I work very closely with special needs communities, and I always say don't count anyone out. And Pedro was a special needs student growing up in the South Bronx, but he then managed to overcome any adversity that he may have felt to become a principal and an assistant superintendent. I got to ask you, what made him, besides that, so unique that he was able to look at a school and say there is more to this than just four walls?
He had this very, as one of the clips showed, this out-of-the-box method. So he treated every child like they were his own kid. I first have to say that as a child with learning disabilities, Pedro as a child with learning disabilities, that he was lucky enough to connect with this one teacher that you just featured in the photograph, Yvonne Torres in third grade, who said, I know this kid is having difficulty. I really think I can take him under my wing and make a difference for him. And she really, really did that. And this was also at a time, remember, when we were kids, when the rules weren't as strict about teacher and student contact. She would bring him home after school. She would do lessons with him, and she made him believe in himself. And that was the inspiration that he got to actually become a teacher and an educator and affect children's lives. But he really looked each student in the eye, and he made them feel special. When I first met Pedro, in the first 5 minutes of meeting him, which is when I knew I had to make a documentary about him, I felt like the best version of myself. And I can't explain this innate quality that he has. And this is what students, parents, communities see in him.
So I want to get to one more clip here, because his main goal was to have an impact on students. He was able to do that until he himself was faced with a bit of controversy. There were highs and lows here. So let me just play this clip and get your reaction.
How he had made the kids feel in the district, the fire that he had lit under our students. We couldn't gather that from anybody.
Thank you for all you do.
Oh,
you're welcome.
It was like somebody turned off a light.
We only have a few seconds left here, but he was ousted from his position as superintendent here. When the film is out today, what do you want people to look at and walk away from when they watch this?
First of all, I want them to go to our website to see where they can buy tickets to watch this virtually at home. We're opening today in New York at the Maysles Documentary Center. Our website is mynameispedro.com, where they can go and buy tickets for this opening, for an opening in Los Angeles, and then we're going out nationwide. The one big takeaway I want people to have, and that we show in the film, is that everyone has a Pedro. So if you were to ask 10 people who that one teacher was that brought the biggest impact into their lives, everyone has that answer. I bet you have that answer. I have that answer. And so that's the biggest takeaway I want people to have.
I urge everybody, Lillian, thank you for making this film, but I urge everybody to watch it. It is powerful, it is poignant, and it really brings you back to your own life and looking at the education system and really picking out that one individual who had such an impact. Lillian, thank you.
Thank you for having me.